Hello? Hello? Testing? Testing? Can you hear me? Is everybody here? This is a podcast made by people with disabilities for people with disabilities. I'm your host, Angie Keegan. Each episode, we are going to be bringing you content that matters to us, the disability community of Caboolture and the surrounding areas. We'll be talking to guests here and getting out into the community where we want you to tell us about what you want to hear about. Subscribe, like, and follow us on all the social media platforms and tell your mates. Welcome. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3. We'd like to start with some acknowledgements of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the Gubbi Gubbi lands on which this podcast is recorded. We pay our respects to the elders past and present and acknowledge the important role that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples continue to play within the community. Today's special guest on Is Everybody Here podcast is Belinda.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. And her professional background is in the disability support space. Sorry, I'll just put my teeth back in. Oh, my goodness. Belinda has a background in disability youth support and advocacy. She's a parent of disabled teenage children and a person with disabilities herself, and is working in the Caboolture and broader Moreton Bay region. So welcome, Belinda.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, I'm rapt to have you here too. Belinda and I have known each other for a little while now. And yes, as soon as I said to her, hey, I'm going to start a podcast, she was all over it.
I had to say yes. It's too exciting.
Right? And I'm particularly interested in, I thought you guys would be interested in hearing about Belinda's experiences working in the youth space with disability and all of her awesome experience. So we've only got a short amount of time. So maybe Belinda is a repeat guest.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully. But yes, so thank you so much for coming today, Belinda.
Thank you.
We should probably, before we get too far into it, give a visual description of ourselves. Would you like to start?
Absolutely. So I have shortish brown hair, bob with purple inside because purple should be a natural colour. I wear glasses. I'm wearing black pants, black shirt with pink flowers and a grey jacket because it is cold in here.
It is really cold, absolutely, yes. And we are in the recording studio of Caboolture Library in the sound studio. So thanks to Moreton Bay Regional Council for providing that. And my visual description, I'm a tall, white, with Celtic background woman. I've got very short brown hair. I'm 47 years old and I'm wearing jeans, silver shoes, and a lovely orange velvet coat.
It's fabulous.
Thing. And a white T-shirt with some beads and, glamming it up for the podcast.
I love it.
So thank you so much, Belinda. Okay, so Belinda, your experience traverses decades.
Yes.
Would you like to talk a little bit about where you come from and what you do?
Yeah. So you don't realise how old you are until you say I graduated in 2001.
Yeah.
With a degree in human services.
Nice.
And went straight into youth services, which was fabulous.
Yeah.
And I've been in all sorts of areas since and now landed in specifically disability and absolutely love it.
Excellent. That is very cool. And what are sort of the key areas in disability that you like to work in?
Definitely mental health.
Yeah.
So as I'm neurodiverse, Obviously, I love my fellow neurodiverse people.
Absolutely.
Neurotypicals are still cool, but I mostly work with people with, say, severe anxiety, severe depression, ASD, ADHD, ODD. Lots of letters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The alphabet.
Absolutely. And I'm part of the alphabet, so yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that is brilliant. Excellent. Probably why you and I get on so well.
Definitely.
Because we come from very similar backgrounds.
And because we're cool.
Oh, and because we're cool, obviously.
Exactly.
Obviously. Excellent. Okay, so what do you think is the biggest challenge for young people in our area at present?
That is such a brilliant question. So I've lived in the Pine Rivers part of Moreton Bay since the 90s. Yes, I'm old. And for me, I think the issue has always been young people being heard,
Yes.
because I think there's so many times we talk about youth crime and we talk about everything that's going wrong, but, you know, places keep being built and there's no parks that are usable or somewhere for teenagers to be where they can be safe.
Yep.
Why do we not have more skate parks with youth workers? You know, why do we not have, you know, a PCYC down in Kalanga or Marumba Downs, which I have fought for? And I just think you can talk about all the negative, but how about we actually be proactive?
Absolutely. That is so true. So, you know, youth is not all about skate parks though, hey?
100%. Obviously, I want them to be fully accessible,
Yep.
of course.
Yes.
Yeah, that was just
Oh, yeah,
an easy example.
for sure. Absolutely. But it's true though. I mean, when infrastructure is being built, when they decide, hey, you know, the urban sprawl is sprawling out this way, they're about getting mums and dads and commuters and all this kind of speak, but they don't think about who are they mums and dads of.
Exactly. And one of the best examples of them doing it well is at Petrie University, where we have the Mill Water Park.
Okay.
And what I love is that I can take clients there who are in wheelchairs. The accessibility is phenomenal.
So cool.
And it'd be great if they could have something next to it that was for then the teenagers, you know, before you get to uni. But it's that alone, very impressive.
That is really cool. Okay. I think I need to just have a little journey out there. I've not been.
It's pretty cool. I highly recommend it.
Okay. Excellent. So is that open every day?
Yeah, so it's completely open. There's no fences or anything. And there's lights at night, I've noticed.
Okay.
Obviously, it's better in summer.
Oh, yeah.
But it's good because it's not pools or anything. It's like water fountains, sort of. But anyone can use it. And it just makes me so happy.
Excellent. Hey, Mario, we're going to go there. Mario's here doing all of the tech stuff.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. Absolutely. Yes. Okay, so that's really great. Now, I wanted to now ask you about, well, to really travel along that path. And so we've talked about just youth in general, but youth who have disabilities. And there's been heaps and heaps of talk about what is a reasonable support for young people.
Yes.
Well, any people with disabilities. But I feel like there's been a bit of a focus on social groups for young people, and is that a good use of funding and all this sort of nonsense? Well, that's me giving an opinion.
Whoops-a-daisy.
Whoops-a-daisy. Obviously, as a person with disabilities, I have quite a bit to say on the topic myself, especially coming from a youth background myself. So, yeah, but as you said, or as we just said, skate parks aren't for everyone.
Correct.
Yeah.
They should be.
Yeah, they should be, absolutely.
Correct.
But if that's not your interest area, and you say are a gamer or whatever, what else around there, around this area is there for young people with disabilities who maybe aren't diehard skaters or have accessibility needs that make that difficult?
Exactly. So I have 2 kids.
Yeah.
One is 21, one is 17. And when my oldest daughter left high school, very proud they got through year 12 in 2020. We didn't know that they had ASD, didn't know they had epilepsy.
Oh, gosh.
They were fun things to find out afterwards.
Yeah.
And from then, they were just thrust into this world where, I have been very fortunate to be able to get them DSP.
Yeah. And DSP is Disability Support Pension.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to get her, well, sadly, a very tiny NDIS package.
Yeah.
With very minimal support hours.
Yeah.
But basically, she was just thrust out into this world, put with a disability employment service who have done nothing.
Yeah.
We've been through 3 now, and it's been absolutely useless.
That's hard.
So she feels useless. She's now 21. And can you imagine if there was appropriate funding to assist?
Yeah.
She, would be able to achieve her dreams, but she's often stuck at home, isn't allowed to drive because of the epilepsy.
Yeah.
Can't get proper funding. It's just absolutely just trapped.
Absolutely. So currently, like the disability space, there's heaps of change happening with the Disability Royal Commission. Finally, there's a response to that.
Yeah.
And the NDIS Act has a bunch of amendments being posed at the moment through the Senate. So there's a lot happening in disability and other stuff as well, and a lot of things that are happening in the foundational support space as well. So currently, I guess, for young people, as they are, as you said, thrust into the world, what is there to help with transitions? So from school to post-school options?
That is such a brilliant question. So in the NDIS package my daughter received, she received SLES.
Yeah.
So the School Leavers Employment Service.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Support. Please tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah. And at first that was a disaster because a lot of the services insist that they have to get themselves to them.
Yeah.
But how are they getting there? I can work 50 hours a week. How, and my daughter isn't allowed to drive and shouldn't be on public transport by themselves.
No.
And that's the same with the Disability Employment Service.
Yeah.
They're all interested in getting her a job pushing trolleys.
Yeah.
But nothing, when I find her a possible job, they're not willing to then go to the employer I've found to help with that next bit.
Absolutely.
So, and in this latest bill, which is terrifying, that doesn't assist with that at all because the NDIS already won't take the epilepsy into account.
Okay.
They say that it's treatable, but it's drug-resistant epilepsy. So apparently it shouldn't be funded.
Okay. So could this be an opportunity then for some youth-focused disability advocacy?
100%. Like you said, there is barely anything transition-wise. They come out of school and they're meant to then just go to university. But what if that's not possible, And then what are they meant to do?
Absolutely. And it's, university isn't a pathway for everyone.
Exactly. And they're just meant to get a job in mainstream where then when my daughter goes to apply, you have epilepsy.
Yeah.
That's a workplace health and safety issue.
Absolutely. And that sort of speaks to that mismatch between, the expectation and the reality.
100%.
Yeah. And disability discrimination is a thing.
It is very much so.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
We could talk about that forever.
Yes, we could. It's so true. And ableism and that fear of the unknown. And for potential employers, they might be open to the idea of having a person with disabilities. But they might be very fearful about, well, what is their obligation?
Yeah.
What do they need to be responsible for? What if they fail in that, responsibility or that duty of care? What is the fallout for them? So I have thought a bit about this, and I think, education would be the way to go for employers a lot.
And where that education should come should be from the Disability Employment Services.
Yeah.
But then, so I have a client who keeps being put forward to jobs where she's told she should be more open-minded. And there are stairs and she's in a wheelchair.
Right.
So apparently she's not being open-minded.
That's challenging.
Yeah. And these employers are coming forth, but then aren't considering they have stairs.
Yeah.
Is it just me?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. So there's a lot going on there. So transition would be something that would be a great thing for focus of supports in the area, youth advocacy in disabilities specifically in the area.
Yeah. So we found our current SLES provider. We were lucky to find one amazing.
Yeah.
We are so lucky. The support workers often are uni students generally. So fortunate, but it was hard to find a decent one.
Okay. It'd be really great. This is a new podcast and we are pre-recording a few of the episodes before we actually officially launch.
Of course.
But we've got a website and we've got social media. So I think if anybody is listening, if they want to actually put forward any of these organisations or like advocacy or SLES providers or something that they feel is good. Yeah. We're not about promoting organisations here. This is a not-for-profit. This is a community podcast. But we're in the community. We're in the Moreton Bay area. And, we need to stand together to advocate for each other. And part of advocacy is about informing each other of the things that are working. So
it's like when you go on social media and someone says, hey, do you know a good SLES provider?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same sort of thing.
100%. Yeah. So I think that would be something really great to if people do have that information to share that. And in the show notes, we will have the links to all of the relevant places that you can do that.
Yeah.
So
you might get someone on as a guest. Who knows?
Exactly. And in the same way, if there's somebody or information that you want to hear about at home and you're thinking, oh, you know what, that'd be great, put it in there because this is a community podcast for people in this area with disabilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so please do. That's awesome. And, okay. So we sort of did touch on the next question that I had for you.
Oops.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm not married to these questions. It's just really to just kind of guide the discussion. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not a pro podcaster yet.
Yet. You will be.
Yeah. So we're applying these sorts of principles and what we need in the Moreton Bay area, in the Caboolture area. And we have a lot of resources here. So, we could already have those things, but maybe don't know about them.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've pretty much talked about one that's working well. Yeah. For example, the Mill Water Park.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. But obviously what isn't, accessibility in general, and I'm sure I'm, preaching to the converted here. When I go out with clients in, say, wheelchairs or other accessibility devices,
Yeah.
we can go to places like fabulous Debra, which is beautiful, but I had no idea how inaccessible it was until I went there with a client in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And that was very disheartening and distressing and upsetting.
Absolutely.
And it's such a beautiful town.
It is. It is. I mean, the charm is like those old buildings. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying they should be changed, but it was just disappointing that even the footpaths, but that's probably a general statement throughout.
Yeah.
But yeah, the accessibility in general was very upsetting.
Okay. Righto. So I guess the next thing is, I mean, we talk about, what's happening that's good, what's happening that needs to change, the priority would be what? Physical accessibility for you?
I think considering everybody, so when developers are looking at something, I understand money is a factor and always will be.
Yeah.
However, for example, the coffee club at Mango Hill has stairs in front of the disability parks.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Now, I found that hilarious.
Yeah, but it's not if you're in a wheelchair.
No.
Yep.
And the actual ramp, you have to go behind cars.
Awesome.
Now, yet again, not having a go at Coffee Club, they didn't design it, just wish to point that out.
Yeah.
But whoever did and whoever passed it.
Yeah.
So I think, especially in council, we need to have people looking at it going, well, how's this going to work? If I was in some sort of accessibility device, or if I was a older person in our region who has a walker, how are they going to traverse this safely?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. They don't really think it through.
No, and I think it's really disappointing that it keeps happening.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I guess co-design needs to be at the forefront of everything.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it can be something, it doesn't have to cost more. We're not saying, hey, put a lift here or whatever.
Yeah.
Move the disability parks. You know what I mean? Like it could be as simple as painting them elsewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a bit of a theme that seems to be coming through so far, is that if you ask the people who are experiencing the challenges, the people with disabilities, often they have the solution and it's often very doable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And imagine how many more people you then have coming to your business if you are open to everyone, because then people... We all talk to each other and we'll be like, oh, my gosh, you have to go there.
Yeah.
It's fabulous.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was actually talking to Cheryl recently in our previous podcast about, what can we do? And there is an app that you can download for the Moreton Bay Regional Council.
Excellent.
And Mayor Flannery actually showed it to me. He pulled out his phone. He's like, "Yeah, Ange, have a look at this." And because I was there going, while I've got your ear. Anyway.
Hey, why not?
And so he showed me the app and I downloaded it and I've been using it. So you pull it out, you take a photo of whatever the problem is. This particular day it was that there was a massive skip bin parked in the disability parking space, because that's where you put it.
100%.
And the next day I went and it was gone. Like you send the photo off via the app and it goes to somewhere and clearly they action it. And, I've taken photos of like missing fences that are meant to be around like waterways to, to make them safe for children, but people go, free pool fence or something, I don't know. But they do. Like, when I go back past, it's fixed. So I think, that's something that works. And it's nice to know that there's a proactive thing that you can do that isn't a big cost to you in terms of energy and time.
Absolutely.
Like it's dead easy to take a photo of something that isn't working and you can just put a little comment with it and saying this isn't working because blah.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of things that need to change, but, I'll give a nod to something that is a good thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's good to point out what's going well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So is there anything else that you would recommend that we can do as a community?
Well, that probably then leads into another question you might have.
She's got to run the sheet in front of her.
I do. Because that will pretty much answer that question.
Absolutely. If you're playing along at home, like I am a little bit extra.
She is highly organised and there's nothing wrong with that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Belinda. So I lost it. Okay, here it is. Okay.
It's hiding.
Yeah, I know. No. Okay. If you could change one thing right now to make Caboolture or the world more accessible or inclusive, what would it be?
So for me, it would be that local residents could see Moreton Bay through my client's eyes.
Yeah.
I would love if people could look at it through, say, my client who's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Because when you actually spend time out there, you don't realise. You park in a disability park and then you're like, how am I going to get the wheelchair from there to over to that ramp behind all these cars?
Yeah.
How, it's all these things that seem so simple, but if you don't look through it through their lens, you have really, I had no idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for someone who's been in the industry so long, it's almost embarrassing because you're like, how did I not know? But, yeah, I wish everyone, and especially developers, designers, could look at it.
Yeah.
Spend time in a wheelchair trying to get to a business.
100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Although I heard recently, or maybe not that recently, but this person with disabilities, a physical disability, was giving a bit of a commentary on that idea of, spend a day in a wheelchair, and because I think it's a good idea because until you're in a wheelchair or, you're having some sort of a restriction that makes something a bit more difficult for you, like it might be that you've got particular lenses on your glasses that make light really piercing or something, so that you can experience that. And I think that's an important experiential sort of an activity to do. However, this is what this person was saying, you're always going to come at it just a little bit differently if you know that you can jump out of the chair or you can take the glasses off or that you can stop the sound or, whatever it is. And so, yes, there's a value in the activity, but you can't just leave your disability behind when it gets a little bit onerous
difficult.
or exactly. Yeah. And I thought that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I think that's why actually having people with disabilities who live it every day and also the idea that disability means you're in a wheelchair. And we know that's not true.
100%.
And, and there's dynamic disabilities and there's disabilities that are sensory and, there's just all sorts of things. So universal design should be the goal, yeah?
Yeah. I think for my kids, the issue has been they look normal, and I'm just doing rabbit's ears just so everyone knows.
Air quotes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And so hence, why do they need any assistance with anything? Because they're fine. And it's that just makes life so much harder because then they're made to feel like, well, what's wrong with you?
Absolutely.
And it's like there's nothing wrong with them. They're absolutely fine. They have challenges. But just, if there was a different perception, like if Disability Employment Services, for example, asked a new employer, is your place accessible?
Yeah.
Pretty quick question.
Yeah.
And then you can actually send people for interviews who can actually do that job and then not go away feeling worse about themselves.
100%.
Yeah.
Maybe a backup question to that, like, yes, ask the question, is your business accessible? But when you say accessible, what do you mean by that?
As we have discussed, where a client went somewhere that was accessible and actually had ramps, but those ramps were so dangerous.
Yeah.
It involved like 3 people helping. And how does that make anyone feel independent?
No.
How does that make anyone feel good?
Absolutely. But also there's inherent risk there as well, because as soon as somebody is handling you, I mean, besides like awkward as and, you know, where's the dignity?
Yes.
But also you don't know that person. You could be really injuring them. You know, you might be thinking you're helping, but yeah.
And you also can hurt your support worker. Just wish to, you know, for us support workers, would, you know, we're important too sometimes.
Absolutely. No, that's true. I love my support workers. I don't want you guys to be all injured.
Because then what use are we?
Exactly. No.
I'm joking there.
No, but it's true. Yeah, absolutely. It's like, who is the support worker?
Yeah, that's very true. Yes,
Absolutely.
Angie's fabulous at looking after me.
Yes.
And that's why I appreciate this run sheet. Yeah.
For sure.
But I think with physical disabilities, sometimes it's like the easiest one to explain. But like you said, invisible disabilities are probably more complicated, because then I have clients who people are like, well, weren't you in a wheelchair yesterday?
Yeah.
And it's like, I apologise that it's, you know, changeable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, when we see that kind of visual cue of a chair or a walking stick or a walker.
An A-linker.
Yeah, an A-linker, that's exactly right. Then you immediately go, all right, okay, that person needs a bit more space, they need a bit more time, and you just adjust your thinking. Whereas if you're presented with someone that looks, air quotes, normal.
Yes, we're doing the air quotes.
Yeah. Then, you're not in that mindset.
All of the compensations go out the window.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And which has made it really hard for my oldest daughter.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything else that you feel that we did not cover today that you really want to like end with?
Oh, gosh. See, that's such an open-ended question. And Angie knows that I could talk forever about.
But it's always interesting.
Sure, she's very sweet. But I think I would just love people to think about it. Imagine it was your child or your mum or whoever is struggling to get down the road because someone's parked their car on the footpath or
left one of those bloody scooters on the footpath.
Yeah, you know, just simple things. Or, you know, when people say, oh, why is your daughter still not working? Maybe there's a really good reason and perhaps you could assist. Do you know someone who might be open-minded?
Actually, that's just led me to think of something another thing.
We do this all the time.
Yeah, we do this all the time.
This is normal. Normal. Air quotes again.
Absolutely. You know, with all of the talk about improving like disability employment outcomes.
Yes.
Which I'm all for. And, you know, if your goal is to find employment and all the rest, absolutely. You know, that's great. And if you want to work in a particular industry, in a particular job, whatever it might be, then absolutely everything should be done to break down those barriers.
Yes.
Right. Now, this is the bit where I have a problem because the conversation invariably goes to this idea of, or there seems to be a link between economic participation and inherent value of a person. And I am fundamentally against that because your value is not linked with how much you earn or how much tax you pay or whatever. And I think if we're in a society where that's how you're valued, then ableism is always going to be a thing.
I am nodding
Yeah.
profusely right now.
Right? And ableism and disability discrimination isn't going anywhere while we are linking those two things.
And it's as simple as the first thing we all ask, and it's not on purpose. It's so what do you do?
Absolutely.
It's
Yes.
And I even do it and don't realize I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And so immediately you're saying, so how do you add money to the economy?
Absolutely, yes. And if you don't, then please explain why, and please be apologetic about your existence.
Exactly. And how is that fair? Like, my clients are all absolutely phenomenal, like, especially people with, say, ASD, so creative, so amazing, and will add to society.
Yeah.
But there's no, it's either mainstream or, sorry, you can see I'm lost. I'm like this going mainstream or I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
And even with the DES providers, they're not interested in helping people start businesses, which is what my daughter would love to do.
And that is actually something that someone said an awesome stat the other day, but I just don't know. Sorry. Go look it up. Sorry.
That's what Google's for.
Sorry.
Not a promotion.
We will just try and find that. But that self-employment is actually often the most viable option for people with disabilities. And it tends to be where people with disabilities will tend to gravitate to because they can work on their own terms, on their own time, according to, when they've got the energy, when, they don't have to do a strict 9 to 5, go into the office, that kind of thing, or, go to a work site or whatnot. And it might be that elements of their job are that, but they have a bit more flexibility and control over how that fits with their lives and their disability.
Exactly. Like a podcast, for example.
Right. Yeah. But, my personal experience after having to leave my profession because of the progression of my disability, I had an immense amount of difficulty actually coming to terms with that. And because my identity was so very linked with, my profession, my, just who I thought I was as a person.
Yes.
So to actually put that aside or to sort of move on from that and then have that question of what do you do for a living was crushing, absolutely crushing. So, and that feeling of having to apologize or explain, like I did a lot of over-explaining and I still do from time to time.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. So I think I live a life of purpose and I think I add a lot of value.
100%. Absolutely. Angie is the most fun to hang out with.
That's it, man. I'm here for the laughs.
I love it. But I think what you've just said, we have literally solved the world's issues.
Right.
Because honestly, if everyone just accepted that everyone has a value, it doesn't have to be economic. I always say to my clients, obviously you might want to work because I like to buy things.
Yeah.
I like things, hence I work to buy the things.
Yeah.
But they can do anything. I have one who wants to become a YouTuber.
Yeah, fair.
I have one who is a podcaster. All my clients have this amazing value, but our society is not set up to assist them with that. Yeah. And that's where places like your DES, NDIS all need to get on board and realise that everyone has value. Help people with that.
Absolutely. And that was the original intention of NDIS, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
To help people to thrive.
So let's do that.
Let's do that. Yay!
Yay! Let's get some qualified people in there who understand disability and into places like your DES and your NDIA.
Yeah,
sure. Let's stop talking about money.
Yeah.
Because the more you do for people with disabilities, they'll add to the economy anyway.
Yeah,
they're
100%.
all amazing people. Give them the opportunities and, man, they will just shine.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I think that's the perfect place to end today's show.
I was working hard on sound bites there.
Yeah, no, I love that. Excellent. Well, thank you so very much for coming in today, Belinda. I really enjoyed this. Yes. And if you wouldn't mind coming back another day, that would also be great.
See, it might happen. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And please subscribe and like and do all the following stuff for all of our social media things.
Absolutely. Please like it because Angie is fabulous. Oh. And Mario. Thank you, Mario.
Yes. Thank you, Mario. Okay. Thank you.